Good morning. There is a general question in regards to tefillah as to what role angels play. Are we allowed to use them as intermediaries? Are we allowed to ask them to daven on our behalf? Certainly, we may not daven to angels. This comes up Friday nights by Barchuni l'shalom, and we seem to be asking angels to bless us, or at least to invoke God's blessings upon us. And similarly, it comes up by the Yom Naroi b'machnise rachamim. One school of thought is to oppose it for the reasons that why would we daven to malachim, to angels, when we could go straight to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? We have that privilege. The Rambam is concerned it's a problem of one of the Ikari Amunah that we only daven to God and we don't use any intermediaries. The Ramban similarly says, included in the prohibition of Avodah Zarah, is worshiping angels and even using them as intermediaries to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Gra was opposed to the reciting of Mechanise Rachamim for this reason. Yaakov Emden opposed Barchuni l'Shalom for this reason. A second reason suggested in opposition to the practice is offered by the Maharami Rottenberg. He says that the who instituted tefillah in the first place was the Avos, and we don't find precedent of them using angels as any intermediaries. They go straight to God. He does mention that perhaps a justification of the practice is because we see by Hamalach HaGoel that Yaakov Avinu did on some level bring the angels into it, even though it was not him asking the angels themselves, but there was a role of the angels in that as well. The Maharal opposed the daven asking anything of the angels and asking them to daven for us. And Chassam Sofer explained, because we as Jews, we have the Torah, we have Bechira Chavshis, we have free will, and therefore we are really closer to God than angels. And so why would we ask angels to daven on our behalf if we in fact are closer to God than them? And finally, the Mabit was concerned that if we begin to daven that they are intermediaries or that they ask God something on our behalf, then we may come to attribute godlike qualities to them, which is certainly a slippery slope. So how do we defend the practice of many? There are multiple Gemaras which seem to indicate that Malachim do have a role in our tefillos. The Gemara in Sota says that we shouldn't daven in Aramaic because the angels don't understand or appreciate the language of Aramaic, implying that, in fact, there is a role of angels in our tefillah. Similarly, the Gemara in Sanhedrin, at least according to Rashi, says that a person should daven that the angels should help us with our tefillah. So again, that certainly is implying that angels have some role in our tefillos. The Siddur Otzar Tefillah, and this was the explanation given to me personally by my Rebbe, Rav Neuberger, as well, in context of Machnise Rachlim, is because it was a tefillah which was written by the Gaonim, by giants, by Torah giants. And even if we don't understand it, it doesn't seem to be something in line with much of what we do. How could we have the right to question a tefillah written by such giants? If it was good enough for the Gaonim, it should be good enough for us. And therefore, that's why many congregations have maintained this practice of reciting Machnise Rachamim. And similarly, when it comes to Barchuni l'Shalom, it's a practice which may not have been written by the Gaonim, but has been around for many centuries, many years of good, wonderful, from Jews who have been reciting this tefillah. And therefore, how could we question that? And finally, the Mahari Broina explains that we're not speaking to the Malachim themselves. We are saying to God, we aren't really worthy of coming to you. So we're going to speak to the angels. It's a sign of humility. Of course, we do have the right, and we often do go straight to Kodesh Baruch Hu, but it's a sign of humility that we're saying we understand that we sometimes aren't, we need to show our humility, that we do use the angels as just as a sign of humility. Certainly, both practices have what to rely on. If one doesn't say it, there's good reason for that. If one does say it, and that's the practice, there's much legitimate basis for that. The important thing to keep in mind is that, of course, we're davening to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We're not davening to the Malach. We're davening to the angels. We're davening to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and the angels are having some role, and one should do their minhag and have the appropriate mindset as well. Have a great Shabbos.